Hey, Shalom Israel, Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, I got a quick little message for you all. And this isn't a message that's geared towards any one individual, but this is just something that I was thinking of whenever I was doing my own private studies. And I just figured I would share that with, everyone in general. So with that, let's go ahead and go to Proverbs chapter 1. And I'm going to read verse 5. And it says, "A wise man," meaning a man of understanding, "he will hear and will what? Increase learning. And a man of understanding," meaning a man of wisdom, "shall attain unto wise counsel." Now, why did I read that? Well, I read that because every time that I think that I know something, every time that I think that I quote unquote got the truth, that I have the true understanding of something, the Lord always opens my mind and shows me something in this Bible that I have never ever seen before. And see, this is why, brothers and sisters, we must always keep an open mind, because sometimes we could be learning so much, we could be getting so much knowledge that we feel like there's nothing more to learn. We feel like we've attained all the knowledge that there is to attain. And that's not true, brothers and sisters. And whenever you have that complacent mindset, that's when you get stuck on something, because you feel like you know it all, and so there's nothing no one can tell you. There's nothing more that you can gain because you've reached the pinnacle. But that, in fact, is not true. I mean, though you disagree with Michael Jordan outside of the basketball court, back when he used to play, when he was in his prime, I'll never forget, there was a guy that was like, "Man, Michael Jordan, you're the best. Your game is perfect. You're unbeatable. You're unstoppable." And I remember Michael Jordan saying something along the lines of, he said, "No, I can always be learning more. I can always practice more. I'm still flawed. I still can do better." And, the interview guy, whatever like that, was, astonished, because he felt like Michael Jordan had perfected everything, but that's not the way Michael Jordan thought. And I said that to say that there are people in the world that are wiser than the people in this so-called truth. See, people in the world, they continue to gain knowledge more and more. They're always reading self-help books. They're always going to seminars. But us right here in the Word of God, so-called saints, we don't do any of that stuff. We get to a point where we learn all of this stuff and we just feel like, yeah, I'm good, boy, I got it. No, we cannot think like that, brothers and sisters, because that is how we get stuck. And I'm just telling you, man, there's a lot of stuff. I'm serious, y'all. And this is just me personally. There's a lot of stuff that I've learned that I thought that I knew to be true. And I'm like, wow, that was a lie. This actually means that. And that's not even to mention my parents and my sister. They've gotten that same reality check. A lot of things that they thought were true turned out to not be true. And the Lord has given them a mind to understand greater things. And brothers and sisters, that's why, man, we got to learn with some humility, because there are going to be some things that are brought to you that you're going to be like, man, no way. There's no way this can be true. And then it turns out that that thing is true. Let's go real quick, guys, to let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And I want to read verses 6 through 8. So go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and read verses 6 through 8. And it says, "I have planted." Okay, so this is talking about when Paul and Apollos, when they was going out and they were, witnessing, or they were teaching. Paul says, "I have planted, but Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then, neither is he that planteth anything, neither is he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase." Okay? Now, I read that because, there have been brothers and sisters and even people in my own family that have, you know, brought some understanding to me. And at first, you know, I kicked up because, you know, I'm an Israelite and I've been doing a better job of not getting emotional. But, you know, sometimes it's like when people bring some knowledge to you, your first thing is to act in defense because you feel like the knowledge that you have is correct. And so naturally, the natural thing to do is to want to defend yourself and to defend the thing that you believe. But brothers and sisters, we have to understand that we're not going to understand nothing unless God opens our mind. And that's a hard reality for a lot of us to understand because sometimes when we witness or teach somebody something and they don't get it right away, sometimes we get furious. We get really angry because the person just doesn't see it. But I've come to the understanding that, listen, you could do the planting, like Paul said. You could do the watering, like Paul said. But at the end of the day, it's God that gives the increase. It's God that is going to open that person's mind. So when you're trying to share some understanding and some knowledge with a brother and sister, or maybe it's someone in your family, you can't get upset. What do I mean by you can't get upset? What I mean is you have to stop playing God. You, sir, and you, ma'am, are not God. All you can do is share the truth. You could just share the information, and that is all you can do. Because it is up to the Lord to whether or not he wants to open a brother or sister's mind. And I tell you, once you reach that point, it relieves so much stress and it takes that burden right off of your shoulders. That's why us at Israel's Church, when we bring out some understanding, you know, some new understanding, and, you know, people get to calling us false prophets, you know, telling us we liars. We've literally heard people tell us we're children of the devil. People get to saying all kind of madness, but you know why we don't even bat an eye? Do you know why we go to sleep at night? I'm talking snoring at night. It's because we understand. No one can come to any kind of understanding unless God opens their mind. And when I tell you that just brings you a whole new level of freedom, it's just mind-boggling. And I even apply that to myself. Whenever someone brings some kind of understanding or knowledge to me and I don't get it right away, I don't just disregard what I heard, but I put that which was taught to me on the bookshelf until I get some understanding. Because sometimes when something is brought to me, I really just, it's my first time learning. So, hey, I mean, I have to study it out. It's not that I do believe it or don't believe it, but I'm kind of like in the middle. I don't really know what to believe at that point. I have to study it out like the Bereans. And I know that, hey, if this is good for me, if this thing is true, I trust that the Most High is going to open my mind up. And that is the mindset that we should all have. So whether we're on the giving the knowledge in or receiving the knowledge in, we should all be waiting on the Most High to open our mind up for the understanding, or open up the understanding of that person in whom we share the knowledge we gave to. But getting upset and getting angry and losing control of our emotions, brothers and sisters, that is not godly, and that is not how saints are supposed to act. You don't understand, hey, put it on the shelf. And maybe later the Most High will open up your mind and say, hey, that thing that was taught to you a year ago or 3 months ago or a week ago, I want you to study that, because that thing that was taught to you, that was true. But see, I would have never thought to put it back on the table and study that thing so the Lord can open up my mind unless the Lord gave me the mind to do so. In other words, it all comes down to what God want to do. We are literally, brothers and sisters, we are utterly powerless. We are utterly, I mean with a capital U, we are utterly powerless in the presence of the Most High. We literally depend on him for everything. And with that, guys, I want to go ahead real quick, and I want to go to James. So let's go to the book of James, our beloved brother and also our forefather. Let's read James chapter 1, and I want to read verses 19 and 20, and it says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren," talking to us, the Israelites, he says, "let every man be swift to hear," meaning be quick to hear, and what? Slow to speak. Slow to what? Wrath. 20, "For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God." And see, that right there is what the Israelites don't do. We're not swift to hear and slow to speak. Every time someone brings some knowledge or some understanding that they want us to look at, they're not even asking us to believe it right there. They're just saying, hey, I think you should take a look at this, because I believe if you take a look at this, you will come to a different conclusion than what you believe now. But instead of being swift to hear, we're quick to speak. No, nigga, you ain't gonna tell me, nigga, I've been in this thing for 15, 20 years. You ain't gonna tell me, you just a novice. The Lord tells us that that is not wise. No, you hear that, brother and sister. Yeah, brother and sister, explain that to me. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I've never seen that before. Okay. Oh, wow, really? Wow, okay. I tell you what, man, when I get a chance, I'm gonna study that thing. I'm gonna look at it to see if that thing which you said is true. That's what we should be doing. We should be receptive to one another, and we should be slow to wrath, because I'm telling you, I've looked at brothers and sisters on different church channels and on different street camp channels, and I tell you, whenever truth is brought forth, I mean, brothers and sisters go absolutely ballistic. No! I mean, just lose all reasoning power. They lose their bowels at the same time. And it's like, my goodness, man, relax. A person is just showing you a different angle or a different vantage point. And why am I saying all this? I'm saying all of this because we have the tendency as Israelites, and God warned us of this. And what I'm about to say is the reason why a whole bunch of Israelites going to be going to that place with that brimstone. Okay? And what am I saying? I am saying that we abandon, listen to me, we abandon our duty to love our brothers and sisters. We abandon our duty to love one another, to protect or to gain knowledge. I don't think y'all heard me. We abandon our duty to love one another to obtain or defend some knowledge. Brothers and sisters, knowledge comes last. Understanding comes last. But to love one another, to love our brothers, to love our sisters, that comes first. That's why when someone brings knowledge to me or some understanding, I don't go crazy. I don't go nuts. I don't call that brother a false prophet. I don't call that sister a false teacher or anything like that. You know why? Because I love them enough to not want that same thing done to me. Because you better believe what you do to your brothers and sisters, that's going to happen to you. So when you share something with a brother and sister and they don't believe it and you go absolutely nuts and berserker on them, that's going to happen to you. A brother and sister is going to bring something to you. See, you reap what you sow. Brother and sister going to bring something to you, and when you don't believe it, they're going to go berserk and go nuts on you. They're going to want to unfriend you because why? You did it to someone else. No, brothers and sisters, you can never let your duty to love one another slip away over some knowledge. That knowledge stuff, that comes last. Just because someone believes something different from you doesn't mean that you are to treat them differently. Like those brothers in the different churches. Hey, just because they don't believe the New Testament Gentiles, that's because they don't believe in stuff like that. That doesn't give me the right to say, man, hell with them. I hope they die. I hope their church falls and crashes and burns. No, we need those churches. I would be a damn idiot to believe that kind of stuff and to say that kind of stuff. No, it's just, hey, we have a difference in what we believe. And I'll have to leave it at that. Because I would take my shirt off my back for my brothers and sisters at them churches. Same with the street camps. Yeah, they believe in the virgin birth, which, I heavily disagree with. Okay? They believe in that little chart and all of that stuff. Hey, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, guess what? I'll take my shirt off my back for them brothers and sisters over there. We need those camps. Why? Because they're still going out and they're helping do the work of waking our brothers and sisters up. But but us having a difference in understanding, that is not a reason for me to hate my brother or sister. That doesn't make any sense. That is insane. Even when you look at the heathen, right? They be in them big old meeting rooms, huge meeting rooms, right? And this heathen arguing with this heathen disagreeing with this heathen. They going back and forth. I don't believe that's right, Jim. Well, you have to understand, Bob. This is why this is this way. No, Jim, I just don't believe that. But guess what? When that meeting is over, they go back to ruling together. They go back to loving one another. Once they done and they meeting, going back and forth on their different viewpoints and their different dissensions on understanding, guess what? Hey, you want to go have dinner with me and my wife tonight? We're going out. You're welcome to come. Israel don't do that. Israel is nigga. You don't believe me when it comes to this. I don't want to be around you. Don't you come by my house, nigga. You don't get sick. If you get sick, nigga, I ain't coming to see you. I'm just keeping it real, brothers and sisters. So forgive me for saying nigga, but that's what y'all understand. So that's why I'm saying. That's what Israel does. You get sick, I ain't coming to see you because you don't believe this here right here. And I'm telling you, it's that mindset right there that's going to lead a lot of y'all into that place with that brimstone in it. We cannot think like that, brothers and sisters. Our duty to love one another comes first. And one thing about it, when it says be swift to hear and slow to speak, hey, if you too busy talking, you ain't hearing what the other person is saying. I mean, my teachers used to be saying that if you're talking, you're not hearing what I'm saying, and that is absolutely correct. Because a lot of us get so caught up talking while somebody bringing something out that we just miss the whole understanding that was brought forth because we too busy trying to argue and yell and get mad. We got to do better than that, brothers and sisters. And that brings me into Proverbs 16 and 32. I'm not supposed to be making this long, y'all, and I'm almost at 20 minutes. It's all good though. Proverbs 16, and I want to read verse 32. And this is something that we all have to get better at, including myself. Proverbs 16 and 32. And this is what God tells us through Solomon. He says, he that is slow to anger, and God is slow to anger. It says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. And he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh his spirit. So God said a person that is able to control his anger. In other words, let me just put it to you this way. A man and woman that can control their emotions, I'll put it that way, is better than the mighty. They're better than a mighty man that is, big, tall, 6'7", full of muscles. He got a sword. He like Samson slaying all of his enemy. He's better than the emperors of yesteryear who conquered nations and took cities. God said a brother and sister that can contain their emotions is much better than men like that. Because it's easy for men to kill, to steal, to plunder, to destroy. But one thing, and to conquer. But one thing that men and women have proven time and time again not to be able to conquer is this: that mind. That mind is more powerful to conquer than any city and than any enemy or anything. Because this mind is deceitful, man. And if you don't control your emotions, brothers and sisters, your emotions will use you. There have been times, man, where my sister or maybe my father or mother shared some knowledge with me, man, and because I was so emotional, no, man, I don't believe it. No, man, you get all worked up and you get all upset and angry. No, man, heck no, I don't believe that mess. No, this is what it say, You allow your emotions to use you just to find out later that what that individual told you was correct. And now you looking stupid because you done got all emotional, right? That's why we warn you, brothers and sisters. Every time somebody comes out with some knowledge, you got to stop calling people false prophets, okay? You got to stop calling people the devil. You got to stop calling, people liars and different stuff like that before you study something. Because, okay, you're going to do all of that stuff. You're going to slander my name, or you're going to slander whoever else's name that brought out that understanding, just to find out months later or maybe a year later that, hey, that person that tried to tell me this, that, and the third ended up being correct. And guess what? Now you have to put away your pride, which a lot of y'all won't do. I will, but a lot of y'all won't do it. You have to put away your pride and say, damn, I was wrong. And that brother or that sister was right. And I got all worked up and I acted the monkey fool in front of everybody. And I was wrong. And that's why a lot of people, once they find out they was wrong, and they did all that shouting, all that showing out, slandering their brothers and sisters, that's why they disappear off the scene. Why? Because they're embarrassed. I did all that damn talking and I was wrong. See, this is why, brothers and sisters, we got to learn to get understanding. We got to learn to hear in humility. Because humility will say, okay, I am upset, I am angry, but I'm not going to show it and I'm not going to lash out just in case I'm wrong. And see, if I'm wrong, I won't look like a damn idiot in front of everybody. Because when it turns out that you were wrong and that other person was right, guess what everybody going to do? They going to look at you. They going to say, bruh or sus, you was doing all that showing out, bruh and sus, and you was wrong. You was dead wrong. See, now you looking crazy because you did all that showing out. This is why you got to use wisdom, brothers and sisters. This is why I say, when you don't understand something, just put it on the shelf and say, hey, I will study this at a later time to try to see if I can understand where that brother or sister was coming from. It's not even that you believe it or don't believe it. It's just, let me study it out just to see what this person was looking at, how they came to the conclusion that they came to. And it's a shame because the people out there in the world who God calls the wicked, see, they apply that logic. They apply that understanding. But we don't. We're supposed to be saints of God. We don't do that. We get all upset. We start throwing stuff and getting loud instead of just, you know what? I don't see what you're trying to tell me right now. But hey, later, I'll take a look at it just to at least, even if I don't believe it, just to see where you're coming from. And hey, it could turn out that you're right. That's why, brothers and sisters, the Lord warns us about our emotions. You have to control your emotions. You just have to. All right. Now, this leads me to Matthew chapter 22. This is my last scripture. This went on a little bit longer than I intended to, but once I start talking, brothers and sisters, y'all know me, I can't stop. So, Matthew chapter 22, and I'm going to read verses 36 through 40, and this will be it right here. Now, this comes from the lips of the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the great and terrifying Jesus, the Messiah. Okay? He says this. All right. So this is what one of the lawyers asked the Messiah. Okay, and the lawyer isn't a lawyer who comes in defense for a criminal. That ain't this kind of lawyer. This is just talking about a master in the law. He said, Master, talking to Jesus, he said, what is the great commandment? He said, which is the great commandment in the law? In other words, Lord, what is the greatest commandment in the law? Because, they asked Christ stuff to try to trap him up. But, Jesus was actually glad that he asked that question. Not for him, but for the people around him. Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Jesus said, this is the first. Let me repeat that. This is the first and greatest commandment. So loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind is the greatest, the first and greatest commandment out of all of them. But then he goes on to say this, and the second is likened to it, meaning he's saying the second is equal to this first one. He says, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So loving your brothers and sisters is equal with loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind. He says, on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Because you know why, brothers and sisters, and all of this knowledge that we're seeking and trying to understand, the Lord is trying to tell us, and we haven't understood this yet. He came down and told us with his own mouth. All that stuff you're looking at in the law and the prophets, the summary of all of that stuff, all of those laws, all of those ordinances, all of the feast days, all of that stuff. Even these 4 devilish kingdoms God sent on us was to do what, brothers and sisters? What was the summary of all of that? To show you how to love God and what? Love your brothers and sisters. So guess what? At the height of knowledge is loving God and loving your brothers and sisters. And I know it's going to take a lot of you brothers and sisters to understand that, because a lot of y'all are still carnal. You're still looking at the carnal ordinances. You're still looking at this physical stuff. But the whole time, the Lord was just trying to show us how to love him and to love each other. And that's why I was saying our first duty should be to love one another, brothers and sisters. Not to get knowledge and not to defend knowledge, but to love one another, including God. That is the summary of the entire 66 books. And when you understand that, there's this liberty, there's this peace that comes on you that's like no other feeling. Because you get what the Lord was trying to say through all these pages in the Bible. And that is to love him and to love one another. So brothers and sisters, we got to start behaving a little bit better, because the way that I've been seeing a lot of y'all act and behave, and you know, the way you act on social media concerning knowledge, it's got to stop, brothers and sisters. It's not that serious, man. Because at the end of the day, you have a duty to love your brothers and sisters. I don't want to see nobody hating each other because a difference of doctrine, because a difference of understanding. Hey, the scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Essenes, and all of them, listen, all of those sects, they had a difference of opinion with one another. And let me tell you something, they actually hated each other. The Pharisees hated the Sadducees. The scribes, they hated everybody. Okay? But guess what? They were united when it came to hating Jesus, see? But the point is that we let little doctrinal differences and we let different understandings allow us to create a wedge and a divide between one another. And those things, it should not be so, brothers and sisters. It should not be so. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with this. If you want to make it into the kingdom of heaven, you got to love your brothers and sisters. Because like the Most High said, if you hate your brother who you have seen, how can you love God who you have not seen? And I hope you got some understanding, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, shalom.